Picture an ordinary Friday night, a chic Michelin-starred restaurant in California, the kind of menu that makes you feel like you've earned something. Or maybe it's a plate of calamari being passed around at a tapas bar after work. Mid-conversation, you dip one into the sauce, you eat it. I did the same thing, many times in fact. But there was something I didn't realize back then, and I suspect you haven't either. Have you ever stopped to think about what that creature actually is? Have you ever heard anything about its intelligence? It can recognize human faces, open jar lids, escape from its aquarium, and find its way through a maze. Did you know that, based on observations while it was sleeping, it can dream, or at least experience something remarkably similar to dreaming? And despite all this, we keep eating it without a second thought. Perhaps because it's easier than challenging our assumptions, I'd like to introduce you to an octopus named Otto. Otto was a resident of the Sea Star Aquarium in Coburg, Germany, a model tenant by all accounts. In 2008, director Elfriede Kummerper reported that one night the entire electrical system had short-circuited. The lights had gone out, the equipment had burned out, the system, which had been repaired by morning, kept short-circuiting over and over again. For weeks they couldn't figure out why. Eventually, a staff member stayed overnight to investigate. That's when they found the little alien. Otto had climbed to the edge of his tank and was spraying water at the spotlight. Why? The staff had trained him to spray water at visitors, but not at the lights, only at the visitors. Apparently, Otto found the light annoying and came up with his own solution. Otto didn't act on instinct. He used something he'd been taught to solve a problem he'd never been taught to solve. The little rascal identified the element that was bothering him and deliberately aimed at the target, repeatedly, to change the situation. Take a moment with that. This isn't a reflex. It's not a behavior encoded in his DNA or handed down through generations. It's thinking. And then, in 2019, things got stranger. Science magazine published a study. According to the study, octopuses exhibited clear signs of REM-like sleep states. Normally, octopuses use their skin to communicate, camouflage themselves, and explore. These traits, which the researchers specifically termed emotions, were also observed while they were asleep. While asleep, just as when they are awake, the colors and patterns on their skin change. Colors like dark brown, white, and orange rapidly appear and disappear. This leads researchers to believe that their brains remain active even while they sleep. Siddhartha Ribeiro, a renowned Brazilian neurobiologist and author, described observing this phenomenon as very striking, while some of his colleagues noted that it was quite disturbing. Sleep stages, such as dreaming, consolidating memories, and processing the day's events, are typically observed in mammals other than humans. If octopuses transition between states of active brain activity during sleep, what could this mean? Which experiences from their day are they replaying in their minds? While all of this leads us to a single conclusion, I must note that scientists are approaching this topic with great caution. Although they do not claim that octopuses dream, they argue that they functionally perform a similar process. Research conducted over the past few years has yielded even more intriguing clues, but that's a topic for another video, if you'd like, of course. But there's something else, something that completely changed the way I see them, their brains. Did you know that an octopus has approximately 500 million neurons? Although it didn't mean much to me when I first heard it, I was fascinated to learn that this is almost the same number as a dog has. I was even more surprised to learn that a cat has about 250 million neurons. An octopus, an invertebrate, a cephalopod in the same class as snails and clams, has a nervous system complex enough to rival that of your pet dog. Only 1/3 of those 500 million neurons sit in the central brain. The other 2/3 are distributed across its 8 arms. Each arm has its own neural cluster. It can move, taste, feel, and make decisions without waiting for instructions from the center. Think of it as a CEO with 8 highly capable employees, each running their own operation. In a very real sense, you're not looking at one mind, you're looking at 9. If the central brain sets the goal, Then an arm reaching into a crevice to search for prey is solving a problem on its own. The arm explores, gathers information, makes decisions, and provides feedback to its boss, using its own set of neurons. Can you imagine what you could do if you had this ability? When we examine the evolutionary history of octopuses, we see that their intelligence developed in isolation from our own. No other vertebrate or animal on Earth has a nervous system structured in this way. Our last common ancestor was a worm-like creature that existed 600 million years ago. This finding, one of the most profound discoveries in the history of biology, clearly demonstrates that our forms of intelligence do not stem from the same heritage. We arrived at intelligence through different paths. In other words, on the journey of evolution, there are at least two distinct paths leading to complex thought. Nevertheless, these discoveries have not significantly changed our consumption habits. Since the 1980s, global octopus consumption has more than tripled. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations and Global Fisheries reports, the amount of octopus caught from the world's oceans each year ranges between 350,000 and 400,000 metric tons. Octopus aquaculture, industrial-scale farming of octopus, which was considered impossible just a decade ago, is now being developed by a few companies. Our appetite for them is the sole reason for this. A paper published in the journal Science in 2022, co-authored by researchers from the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, strongly opposed octopus farming on ethical grounds. To fully grasp the seriousness of the issue, we must make this distinction clear, not on environmental grounds, but on ethical grounds. Their arguments were clear. Octopuses are sentient beings. They experience stress. They feel pain not merely as a reflex, but in cognitively meaningful ways. Farming them on an industrial scale means confining these highly intelligent, solitary, and spatially complex animals to crowded, inefficient, and stressful environments. The researchers expressed serious concerns about their well-being, describing the prospect as a profound issue, not an environmental risk, not a legal gray area, a profound issue for them. And to understand why those words carry that weight, we need to talk about something that almost never enters this conversation. Octopuses have been observed engaging in what researchers call play behavior, interacting with objects that offer no survival benefit, purely for stimulation or pleasure. Scientists at the University of Washington documented something striking: octopuses releasing pill bottles into a circulating current, watching them drift away, then retrieving them, over and over. No training, no food reward. They were just playing. Jennifer Mather, who has been studying octopus personalities since 1972, has obtained quite consistent and clear results on this subject. In 1993, her groundbreaking research proved that they possess individual personality traits. Some are bold. Some are shy. Some are curious and approach new objects immediately. Some are cautious and need time. And some, in her words, are downright aggressive. It is unfair to lump them together or view them as interchangeable. They are individuals. In a 2010 article published in the journal Current Biology, researchers at the Anton Dorn Zoological Station in Naples documented that octopuses collect coconut shell halves from the ocean floor, carry them over significant distances, and turn them into portable shelters. This was a first for a truly invertebrate creature. Tool use. If we go back a bit further, this is the behavior we, with our human-centric assumptions, have long regarded as what sets us apart from animals. Then we thought it existed only in us and primates. Later we discovered that fish also use tools, and we had to redefine the boundaries. Now, however, an octopus is dragging coconut shells along the seafloor to build a home, and we no longer know exactly where the boundaries lie. I didn't come here to tell you what to do. I don't intend to stop here and make this issue clear-cut for you. What science reveals does not ease our conscience. Science doesn't say, octopuses are intelligent, but they don't actually feel pain. It doesn't say, they're smart but not in a way that matters morally. I'll address all of this later, But this issue must be taken seriously. You may have heard before that octopuses recognize humans. Yes, they recognize individuals. Researchers who work closely with them have documented this repeatedly. They recognize and observe the person entering the room. Depending on the person, they may approach them, ignore them, or squirt water at them. According to a researcher at the Seattle Aquarium, an octopus would perform the same action every time it saw a staff member it disliked. Squirting water. That octopus knew who it was facing. It remembered. It harbored a grudge. When was the last time you thought about what you were eating from this perspective? There's a question underlying all of this, and I think it's one you've already asked yourself. Where should we draw the line? Humanity has spent centuries defining the boundaries of its moral responsibilities. Looking back, it has been an ever-changing journey. First, different human communities were included within this circle, followed by women. Later, we began to acknowledge that some animals are also capable of suffering and deserve protection. We still can't say we've fully succeeded, but we've included mammals, especially those that resemble us in behavior and appearance, within this circle. I suppose it was easier because they resemble us, or look at us with their eyes. The octopus, however, completely shatters this framework. There's nothing about its face that resembles ours. It doesn't make sounds we can interpret. It doesn't move in a way that would instinctively evoke empathy in us. Its physical appearance is also quite alien, truly alien, but none of this changes what it is still capable of doing. It thinks, it plays, it remembers, it recognizes, it dreams or does something so close to dreaming that the difference may not matter much. The unease you're feeling right now, if you're feeling it, isn't emotional. It's your moral intuition picking up on the evidence. I don't claim to have all the answers, nor do I know where precisely to draw the line, but I firmly believe the least we can do is acknowledge what the research unequivocally shows. Let's strive to be more mindful about our choices, to make informed decisions about what we consume, rather than simply following old habits. Right now, somewhere deep in the ocean, an incredibly intelligent creature is navigating its world. It's remembering, it's dreaming, and incredibly, it might even be making deep, personal sacrifices, a concept almost unfathomable for a solitary creature. But wait, sacrifices? Where does a highly solitary, independent creature even learn the concept of sacrifice? We'll explore the answer to this question together in the next section. This detail could change how we see them. Until then, as people all over the world decide whether or not to keep them on the menu, I think we have plenty to reflect on. What you do with this, that's up to you.